All right, you guys, so we're going to go ahead and get started in our examples here. This is the lesson 1.12. We actually did it the same day. But in this case, we're taking a look at a few examples here. We want to go ahead and talk about the degree of a polynomial. Whenever we're talking about the degree of the polynomial, we're actually talking about the exponent in this case. Actually, the highest exponent here. So whenever you're looking at the expressions here, if you want to determine the degree of the polynomial, you have to take a look at your exponents. In this case, the 8 does have an exponent. It's actually x to the 0 power. Once again, if we do anything to the 0 power, that's going to give us a 1. So if we take a look at our exponents here, we're looking for the highest one. In this case, the 7 is the highest one. So the degree here of the polynomial is going to have a value of 7. So let's go ahead and do the same thing on the other one. This one here, we have y cubed plus 100y. The y here does have an exponent of 1. And once again, we're taking a look at our exponents here, seeing which one's the highest. And the highest in this case represents the degree of the polynomial. So in this case, the degree of the polynomial would be 3. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one, guys. And this here, it's just talking about what we're going to be looking for in the next examples. We are going to be categorizing or rewriting the expressions and then determining the leading coefficient, the constant, the degree, and the type of polynomial. So standard form in this case, guys, talks about the highest degree order. So you have to put your expression in order from the highest exponent to the lowest. Leading coefficient in this case talks about the number that's in front of the highest degree. So once we put it in order, the first number that's in our expression, that's going to be our leading coefficient. Constant in this case, guys, is just talking about the number. It's just a number. It has no variable. It's just a number. So that would be the constant here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this here, guys. And we want to go ahead and describe the type of polynomial we have, our expression. In this case, we have 22x cubed plus a 5x to the 7th plus 11. Starting off, standard form in this case is rewriting the expression from the highest degree to the lowest. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight my degrees here. Once again, this one here is x to the 0. So highest degree in this case out of these three terms is a 7. So that's my first term here if I'm rewriting it. And from there, it's the third, so plus 22x to the third. And the last one here would be 11. So this here, our expression is now written in standard form. It's written in standard form from the highest degree to the lowest. Next thing up is our leading coefficient. Leading coefficient talks about the number that is in front of the highest exponent. The 7 here is our highest exponent, so our leading coefficient here is going to be a 5. This here is 5. Now let's go ahead and move on to the degree. The degree talks about the highest exponent. Highest exponent in this case is going to be the 7. All right. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the constant. The constant in this case talks about the number. In your expression, it's basically the number that's by itself. It has no variable whatsoever. In this case, that would be 11. Now, last thing is a type of polynomial. So we have monomial, binomial, and trinomial. Anything greater than that would just be a polynomial. So if we take a look at this here, I have one term, I have two terms, and I have three terms. So 3 terms helps me determine that we have a trinomial. All right, so that's one example. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. And this one here, we have a 7x squared minus a 5x cubed y cubed. In this case, I want to go ahead and start by writing it in standard form. So once again, guys, standard form is writing from the highest degree to the lowest degree. In this case, if you notice, we do have this expression or this term that has 2 different exponents and 2 different variables. So this one here, if we take a look at the degree, we actually have to combine those two to determine the degree of the polynomial. So that would be 6. So since this one has the highest exponent, that is my first term in the expression. And we're not going to combine them, we're just leaving them as x cubed, y cubed. And then at the end, we're left with the 7x squared. Now, let's go ahead and determine the leading coefficient. Once again, guys, the leading coefficient in this case talks about the number in front of the highest exponent, which in this case is the -5. Now, talking about the degree in this case is the highest exponent. We actually found it to be the 6 here. So the degree of the polynomial here is 6. Now, we're talking about the constant. Once again, the constant is talking about the number that's by itself. It has no variable. If you take a look at this here, this has a variable, that has a variable, so we're actually not given a constant. So I could actually add it and just do plus 0. So in this case, our constant is 0. We don't have a constant. And the last thing in this case is the type of polynomial expression. So in this case, it's just based off how many terms we have. So in this case, we have 1 and we have 2. So 2 in this case would be a binomial. And this once again was 0. All right, and let's go ahead and move on to the next one. And in this case, make sure you guys complete this on your own. Let's go ahead and complete this one on your own. Go ahead and write it in standard form. Leading coefficient, degree, constant, and the type of polynomial. I want to go ahead and now talk about this one here. So in this case, it's basically asking us which expression matches the description. So we have a polynomial of a 5th degree with the leading coefficient of 7 and a constant term of 6. So a few things to point out. It has a 5th degree, which meaning the exponent needs to be a 5. So the highest exponent in this case needs to be a 5. In this case, I'm actually going to go ahead and cross this one out and cross this one out because this has a highest degree of 7, highest degree of 6. So we're down to these two. It says with the leading coefficient of 7. Leading coefficient in this case, guys, talks about the number in front of the highest exponent. This is my highest exponent. The number in front is a 6. So that's not true. If I take a look at this one here, the highest exponent is a 5. Leading coefficient is 7. So I'm actually going to go ahead and discard this one. And last thing they're mentioning is that the constant is 6. So the number that's by itself is 6. So our final answer here would be B. Okay.